The following is a presentation of the Mat Talk Podcast Network.
These guys aren't playing around. It's time to put the books away and get in the room. It's time for Wrestling Recess. Now your hosts, Dysen, Gould, and Dom Deputy. PA Power Wrestling. Pennsylvania is wrestling.
What's up, everyone? You are now tuned in to the PA Power Wrestling Recess podcast, and I am your host, Dysen Gould. It's been a while, but I am finally back, and with this weird little break in the school, I decided to do some interviews, and my first guest for this break will be Brodie Zacherl from Brookville, PA, and wrestled at Clarion, 4-time national qualifier. And Brock, how's it going today?
It's going good, Dyson. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to see what we end up talking about today.
Yeah, I'm excited you're able to come on here and talk about some of the stuff that's going on now. And what's it like right now? Are you in Brookville or Clarion right now?
So I've been living in actually the house I grew up in Brookville. So about, 2 or 3 years ago, my mom got remarried, and she's been moved out of this house for about 3 years now. And so I moved from Clarion back into this house, and it's been paying rent through her. So I've lived here in Brookville for about 3 years now, and it's awesome. Rent's a heck of a lot cheaper here.
So what's it like in, obviously right down the road from me, but what's it like in Brookville right now with all this coronavirus stuff going around? Is it kind of like a ghost town, or is it kind of normal?
Yeah, so I live in a little town called Mayport, and I'm out in the boonies, so there's no one around me. But the few times that I have ventured into town, it's like a complete ghost town. Both Clarion and Brookville, there's not too many people out. There's a bunch of strict hours and stuff like that. But it's really something unique. I've never seen anything like this, and it's honestly, I think it's a really good sign that everyone's taking this seriously, and it just kind of shows you these two cities. They're full of great people that want to help out. So. Everybody's taking the proper precautions here. So
moving on to a little bit of the NCAA cancellation, what are your thoughts about that? Like, obviously, sucks for you, 4-time qualifier, and you never were All-American, and you didn't get your chance to All-American you didn't get your 4th chance to All-American. I mean, how do you feel about that? Obviously sucks, but like, kind of, what's your perspective on it?
Yeah, so you caught me at a much better time. If you would have had this conversation when I got the news, it might have been a lot different. But I've had a lot of time to kind of sink in and think about it and what I really wanted from the sport. And I've said it a lot. And when you first look at it and you start wrestling, for any young wrestler, you start wrestling because you want to be the best. You're super competitive, and you have a lot of success. And then you get to the highest level, you think the same, but then when it all ends, you kind of get a perspective change, and that's where I'm at now, where when this happened, I looked in the mirror and I asked myself if I was happy with what I did, and that answer was no right out of the gates, because I didn't accomplish what I wanted to. And then digging deeper, I realized, what I really wanted since I left Brookville is to kind of represent those people in that town and the person that they made me into. And then whenever I spent some time in Clarion, I realized how great of a place that was and how hardworking the people in that city are. And I just, I wanted to make those people proud. And I think I did that. And when people look at the brackets and they say, who's that kid from Clarion? And a lot of times they're talking about me. That means a lot to me, and if being referred to as a kid from Clarion is something that I'm really proud of, and I hope that the world from the outside looking in starts to realize how great the things at Clarion are, and accomplishing that is all I ever wanted. So I can sit here and be proud, but then looking forward, I'm not done competing yet. Especially with this breaking news today with the Olympics, man, I'm actually just drooling about it. It's great for me because now I get an opportunity to go for that. So I'm really excited going forward.
So how did you find out about the cancellation? Were you like during a practice or after practice? How was it?
Yeah, so the news was just, that day was so weird. I was just glued to my phone, and I shouldn't have, but I just couldn't stop thinking about it. And, I started watching all the, MLB gets canceled, the basketball tournaments get canceled, everything starts dropping like flies. And once the basketball tournaments got canceled, that's whenever I pretty much knew what was up. But you just know how hard it is to give up on stuff like that. As long as there's hope, you're going to run with it, and that's what I did. So I kept staring at the phone, but then we had practice at 3:30, and there was like a Facebook post I saw that said it was canceled, but you know what? I still had a lot of hope, and I started the workout, but I was like really emotional because I was pretty sure I knew it was going to go on, and so I started to practice, and I got through it, and went down to the shower, and I picked up my phone, and just as I picked up the phone, I got the notification that the NCAA made the tweet, and it was obviously bad, and that's me and Greg Balzac went up, and we sat down with the coach, and he couldn't say anything, and no one could really say anything, and it was an emotional time for the guys, and but we got the workout in, and then the rest is kind of history. But it was a really tough time.
So obviously, Clarion, a real young team, just a couple qualifiers. But how did the rest of the team, the younger guys, respond? Maybe the guys that didn't qualify, but how did they respond to it?
They were just, I wish I could ask them, I should have. But they were real pat. They didn't know what to say to me, because especially that fast, there's just nothing you can really do to help me. And, I could tell they wanted to, but the few guys that did reach out, they said some nice things, and I might not even respond to all of them. But, they did their best to try to, console me and help me out, but I wasn't in the mood, and I just kind of got out of there as fast as I could. But for them, I think it was just kind of like an eye-opening experience that, wow, something like this can actually happen. That it really doesn't seem fair, and that they really can't take these opportunities for granted. So while they didn't take it necessarily as hard or take it to heart, I think they all learned a really valuable lesson through all this.
So there's been some speculation the NCAA might give all the athletes affected an extra year of eligibility. So this is already your sixth year because you got a medical hardship. Would you think about taking that seventh year?
Absolutely. That's something I would definitely look into, and honestly, we already have. We kind of have a loose plan made up of what I would do, and the course schedule, because I'm actually getting my master's right now. I finished this semester, so that was a tough question. We got that answered, and I bought a house, so financially it'd be a little tough, but I would be living real tight for a year, but it's something that I can do, and I'm willing to do just to have a shot at making that dream come true. And like I kind of alluded to earlier, there's a lot of people, and bringing up the medical record, a lot of people that sacrificed a lot to get me to where I'm at. And like I said, my goal from the beginning was to kind of make it right for them, to make them proud. And if I said no to that opportunity, I just feel like I wouldn't be chasing my goals, and I wouldn't be representing the people that sacrificed everything to kind of make me who I am. So that's definitely something I'd be interested in doing.
So moving on to a little bit of your youth wrestling, how did you get started into the sport of wrestling?
Well, it's a funny story, actually. So me and I have a twin brother named Brodie, and we went to a practice. We loved WWE growing up, and we went to a practice when we were younger. I want to say about 6-ish, give a few, take a few, and as soon as we walked in and they started drilling and doing, double X and single X, I was like, this stinks. I did not. We went home and never went back. So then when we were about 10, we had a buddy who was really good at wrestling. His name was Nathan St. Laurent. And he would go to PGW states. He'd qualify. He was tough. He was really, really good wrestler. And we would wrestle in my living room. Brodie and he would kind of go at it. Brodie would even beat him sometimes. So Brodie eventually said, you know what, I want to try wrestling again. So we go, and we're taking it serious now, and we kind of know what the deal is now. It's not WWE. And so we went, and Brodie was really good right away. He was placing in all the tournaments and doing real well. And I was I stunk for a while, if I'm being honest. But then eventually, first tournament I ever placed at, I took first. And then from then on, I was like pretty good. So then me and my brother both went on to have really successful careers.
So obviously, when it wasn't WDB, you were kind of disappointed, but maybe once you started to take it seriously, did you like it right off the bat, or did it take you a while to kind of grow a passion for the sport?
Yeah, I loved it right out of the gates when we went back again. There was just and I think this is the problem with a lot of people, like fans, that have never wrestled before, looking to become a fan of the sport. You go in and you don't really have an open mind, and then you just close the door on it real fast. But once you go in and you appreciate it and try to learn it, and you see how beautiful the sport it is and how amazing of a sport it is, and just everything that it represents and what it takes to be good at the sport. It's not just athletic ability. It's not just skill. It's a mixture of the two. And it's one of the only sports in the world that I feel that honestly revolves much more around skill than it does athletic ability. There's people that are not good athletes that are some of the best wrestlers in the world. And I think when I went back the second time and really gave wrestling a chance right away, I was just in love with everything it taught you and everything it took to be great at the sport.
You said that your brother had some success early on. Maybe how long did it take you to really be successful and start PJWs and stuff like that? How long did it take you to be successful?
So I got pinned a lot right away. So I want to say I didn't take years. I'd be lying if I told you it took years. But it was about the end of my first year where I started to turn a corner. I started to maybe not beat really good guys, but I was really, really close with good guys. And then, that's how it starts. Then you close the gap, and then you start beating those guys, and you leave them in the dust, and you find the next guy to beat, and you just keep climbing the tiers. And so, like I said, I'd be lying if I said it took me a couple years, but it basically took me a full year, and it was about a 3-month span of me just getting my butt kicked. And then, all of a sudden I started to kind of turn a corner. And I don't know what it was. It wasn't a huge technique breakthrough or anything like that. It was, I really think it was kind of like a mindset type thing. And, once I started to have just that little bit of success, I ended up getting third at areas. I started to grow really, really fast because I became obsessed. So then my second year is the first time I ever placed at PGW States. I took 7th, and then I went on to take, I think I took 2nd, 3rd, and 2nd after that. And then I went to varsity.
So as you said, you had a twin brother growing up, Brodie. What was it like having him? So you always have a practice partner, stuff like that. What was it like growing up with a twin brother?
It was the best. I wish everyone could have a twin brother. And it's cool to kind of see how different that we are. So Brodie, he's a real smart kid, and so he always took a really, I want to say, theoretical or philosophy-like approach to wrestling, and he really appreciated technique and learned it, and was really good at that, finding the easiest way to do things. And whereas I was just kind of like the madman, trying to just rip people's heads off right away, and it was nice to always have him around, and he loved the sport too, so we always could work out with each other. And we were obviously too really competitive, but that's one thing I think with older brothers, you guys aren't as tight-knit, so they end up fighting a lot. Me and Brodie, we grew up together. We went through any challenge we faced it together. Any sort of hardship, any of the firsts in life, riding a bike, whatever, we all did together. So the one thing is, even though we were super competitive, we never really fought. And throughout our whole lives, we've never had, we've bickered and argued and those kinds of things, but we've never, just fought each other, been mad to that extent. So it was really awesome to have someone like that can push you at all the times, but then, the coaches say it all the time, the second you walk out of the wrestling room, best friends again. But it's hard to do a lot of times, and having a twin brother was that theory, just my whole life highlight right there.
Who won between you and Brodie?
Well, right away, Brodie won for a long time. Brodie was better than me. I want to say till probably about when we were 14, it started to get really, really tight because I took 2nd at States at whatever the weight was. It was a weird weight, and Brodie second states the weight above me. And we could, the goes, depending on how it went, like he would win some, I would win some. And then varsity for a little bit was the same, but then my first year at varsity, he was a little bit bigger than me. So it was like harder to beat him. I could still get him sometimes. And that's kind of how a lot of our varsity career went. He was always really big in high school, whereas I was kind of smaller. He was like about 160-ish, and I was 138 most of the time in varsity. But they were always close, really competitive.
Did you go to any clubs like growing up to train?
Not really. That's the thing. That's why I said earlier the people at Brookville, they mean so much to me. And the reason why is because they're just the best. And I realized that pretty early. I would be lying if I said I never went to any, but, I trained at Young Guns once. I did a practice with those guys, and I know John and Jody really well. They're awesome guys, got awesome things going for them, and really good friends with a lot of the Young Guns guys, but never went there a whole bunch. I actually went there with Caleb and his parents is actually who I rode up with. And I went to, real early, I went to All-American some with Coach Waller. I did the summer camps there growing up, and it was a really good experience. And I wrestled for Renegade Force a little bit, went to some of their camps and wrestled for those guys quite a bit, actually, whenever I was older. Really great people. But I would say 99% of my wrestling training growing up was just out of Brookville, because Coach Klepfer is, I don't know if you know him personally, but he is he's the best. He understands how to develop guys, and especially at a young age. It's one thing to focus on the fundamentals, and I think that most coaches do that, but he does it a way where he just kind of beats it into your skull. But also, the thing that makes him different than any other coach is he doesn't teach you to do moves. He teaches you to understand why you do certain moves and why certain things work, to let you kind of develop into who you want to be as a wrestler. Whereas, I think even most college coaches fall into that trap where this worked for me, so this is what we're going to do. And it's just not good. It's not good for anybody that's trying to develop and grow as a wrestler. And just being around him as much time as I could is what my family and me personally wanted to do, and so that's what we did. So it ended up paying off really well for me, and I think it's going to be what makes me a really great coach one day.
So transitioning into your high school career, you already did a little bit, but maybe just talk a little bit more about Coach Dave Klepfer and maybe how he helped you develop as a wrestler, and maybe not even a wrestler, just as a person, how he helped you develop.
So he one thing is he always ran like a pretty tight ship. He wasn't really interested in being your friend whenever you were wrestling under him. Now we're obviously good friends, and we have more of a friendship, not a coach wrestler friend or relationship. But he just always was trying to form you as a, not just as a wrestler. Like I said, I alluded to that quite a bit. He was always trying to form you as a man, no cursing, when you go out in public, you act the right way, you treat people nicely. And one of the things that he's always said to me growing up that's really stuck with me is people need to pay attention to how others treat people that can do nothing for them. So when you see someone treat someone below them, kind of like mean, or they ain't treating them right, that person's not a good person. But when you see someone in power treating the people way beneath him, going out of their way to help those people, that's the kind of person you want to be like, because it's just about being a good person. And it's those kind of things, those little ideologies that stuck with me. And, he used to always say good things happen to good people. And, I believe that, and I still do to this day. And, that's just the thing that makes it so special there. It's just so much more than wrestling whenever you're there. And I feel like some places, that's all they focus on. And so I had a really great experience between him and another person that helped me out a lot is Coach DeLoy. He's still on staff now at Clarion, and I'm still with him every day. So it's sometimes I forget to talk about how important he was throughout my high school experience. But those two, man, they work together. They sacrificed a lot of time to be with me and to make me who I am. And I just can't even begin to say how grateful I am for that. It was just the best experience I could have ever had. High school was amazing for me.
So in high school, your freshman year, you didn't place at districts, and then your sophomore year, you end up placing 7th at states. Talk about that jump and maybe what did you do during that off season to really, well, I guess maybe during your sophomore season too, to help you make that big jump from going to not placing in districts to being a state medalist.
Yeah, so it was really hard to keep me off of a wrestling mat, and I actually didn't make weight at districts that day, my freshman year, and I was just reflecting on that. I was just an immature kid that wanted to start cutting weight, and I didn't know how to do it, and I wasn't mature enough to try to get people to help me, and when people did try to help me, I wouldn't listen, and it was just it was a good learning experience, but I really wish it panned out a little differently because I had a really good year that year. My only loss was to Mason Beckman. I think you probably know Mason, I would think, right? Yeah. And, I bumped up a weight because I really wanted to wrestle him. Ended up losing, but he beat me up, but the score was close. It really wasn't a competitive match, but the score was close, so it looked good. And that was my only loss that whole year. I was having a really good year, and I wish I could talk to that young kid because I think he needs some sense put into him. But I learned a lot from it, and obviously I was still super hungry. I felt like I really thought I could have a shot at winning states that year, and I still do. Looking back on it, I beat some really tough kids that year, and so I took freestyle very seriously. Always have, always did it. I did some traveling. I can't remember exactly what I did that summer, but at Brookville, Coach Klepfer is in there all summer long helping out kids, and he would drive us to any tournament that was within 3 hours we would be at. So I did a lot of wrestling, and a lot of times I'd wrestle, double weights, double ages. I'd just get as many matches as I could. And then once the season rolled around, I remember we went to Super 32. Or no, I didn't go to Super 32 that year. I don't know. I might have been hurt or something. But and then once the season started, I was ready to roll, and I ended up having a good season. And honestly, I wasn't too happy with that result, but looking back on it now, it was, like you're saying, it was a big jump, and it was a good thing for me to experience as a young kid.
So do you think kind of just getting a lot of mat time in the off season is really what helped you?
Yeah, and I think the big thing that people don't want to get confused with is if you're not enjoying it, then you probably shouldn't be doing it. If you go into a wrestling room because, say you're a parent and you make your son go into the wrestling room, that whole time he is just thinking about how he can't wait to go home to do this, or how big of jerks his parents are for making him do this. He's not growing at all, outside of getting, I guess, some kind of workout. But if that's the mindset, he's being lazy regardless. So I think you need to go in there to have fun. So coaches, too, can help with that process, make it somewhat enjoyable, do things that aren't maybe as intense in the summer, but more enjoyable, more technique-based, and things that you don't get to work on in the seasons and stuff like that. So, I always was having a good time, and I think that's really important if you want to grow in the sport.
If a parent is trying to get their kid into the sport, what is maybe a piece of advice you'd give them? Like you just said, not pushing your kid into it, but making sure they're having fun and want to go to practice. What's maybe something else? If they're trying to get a kid started in the sport, what's a piece of advice you'd give them?
Yeah, because this is something I kind of talked to Coach Klepfer a little bit recently, because I'm getting engaged, and I don't think I'm going to have kids anytime super soon, but it is something that's on my radar. And I think he described it perfectly, and he said, if wrestling's something that his kid's into, which is important because you can't force your kid to be into something. He's either going to like it or he's not. You can bring your kid around, let him see it, let him experience. And if he can look at that and say, this is something, Dad, this is something I want to try, then you take the next step. And the next step is once he makes that commitment and says it's something he wants to try, you just simply do everything you can to help him be successful in the sport. Those are the two things he told me, and it's really simple and it makes a lot of sense. So parents, you can't push your kids into doing anything. Let them kind of decide what route they want to go in life. Let them be their own person. You don't want to be the dad that's forcing their kid to do all these things and go to all these workouts. But it is important to encourage them. So don't let them be lazy. I'm not saying let them be lazy bums, but don't force them to do things that they don't want to do. So Those are kind of my two pieces of advice. Once you let him decide what he wants to do, and once he then decides, what he wants to do, if that's wrestling, you do everything in your power to help him be successful in that. So that's what I'd say. Take like sort of a passive approach with it.
How big do you think, how big would you stress like having fun and scoring points, worrying about that instead of having like getting wins? How big would you stress that to like parents and kids that are wrestling?
I think it's the most important thing, and I say that because I think I started learning it a little too late. And I always had fun. I never once didn't enjoy practice, but I think whenever I was younger, I was just so competitive that I wanted to do anything I possibly could to win. And so, like, I was very result driven, and so it was not about doing the right things that would help me in the future. Like you're saying, score a lot of points, go have fun. Those kinds of things, those are important for the long term. I was just always so focused on win this match, win the next match, win this tournament, win the next one. And it's what killed me at the highest level, because everyone's just so good. The only way that you can separate yourself is to score a lot of points. If you try to make everything a 1-point match, which is basically what I ended up doing in my whole entire career, you get stung. People are good enough to take you down one time. You need to be able to blow the doors open on matches, score enough points that one takedown that you give up on that guy doesn't matter. And I think that's kind of what haunted me. And I started to make those turns as I got older, because I realized that it was what the problem was. But it's a little bit too late, because once your mind's dialed in like that, it's hard to change the way you think. And so that's why I think it's so important for young kids to just go out there, have fun, score points. Win or lose, that's not what's important to you long term. If all you ever want to do in wrestling is win PJW state title, then go for it. Go train just to win that match, and then once you win your PJW, hang it up. But if you want to be the best to do it, which is what I think everyone that steps on a mat wants to do, then, or get that free college education, then you need to be doing the things to help you long term, and that's have fun, score a lot of points. And then when you wrestle like that too, it also helps the coaches dial in and see what mistakes you're making. So like a lot of times when I got to this level, I'd wrestle a tight match. Let's say with Dean Howe, right? We had a really tight match, but I wrestled very conservative, took him down once or twice, and then, he ended up taking me down once, because then I was just trying to hang on. You don't give your coaches much to work with, So I had 2 nice takedowns, and then he ended up taking me down. I think, I forget exactly how it went. Maybe he took me down twice. But, good guys, it's hard to cut those shots. Whereas if I would have, kept on his legs, who knows how many times I take him down. Maybe he blows the match wide open, takes me down 100 times. But from those mistakes, I would gain something from that. And I think people that think more like that are going to be able to grow and be more successful in the long term. And I think that's what held me back long term. It's a change that I was just on the verge of making. I really think that this NCAA tournament I have a lot of things this week that leading up to the tournament that changed, that really, really helped me and was leading me wrestling the style that was perfect for me. And, it sucks that we won't get to see it, but I think that's why it's so important for kids to focus on the long term, not the short term, when thinking about wrestling growth.
Moving on to your college career, why did you choose to go 15 minutes down the road and stay home and go to Clarion? What kind of stuck out to you about Clarion?
Well, like I said, one of the things that was always really important to me, and as I got older, there was this huge stigma. There's all these kids going to like prep schools, and they would leave their high schools and go to these really good schools, and all these certain things, and that always kind of bugs me, in a way, even in high school, and then obviously you see it in college as people bounce around all the time. And so it's always really important to me to stay with these people that believed in me since I started, and they never turned their backs on me. Why would I turn my backs on them? They didn't stop believing in me. Why would I stop believing in them? So me going to Clarion was sort of exemplified that, because Keith Ferrero, he was my coach at Brookville. He was Coach Klepfer's assistant for a couple of years. He actually coached me in freestyle till I was 10 years old, or till I was a sophomore in high school. So 10 to sophomore, he coached me for about 5 or 6 years, and then he got the job at Clarion. So for me, it was about staying close to home and then showing the world that you don't have to go far to make your dreams come true. You know, these people, they always believed in me, and I've always believed in them to get me to where I wanted to be. And that's what it was about, showing everyone how special a place I grew up in and how great of a town it is now and how great of a town it's going to be in the future. So
would you say having Coach Ferraro there at Clarion, then after he coached you a couple years at Brookville, would you say that played a big role in your decision?
Oh, yeah. When you go through the recruiting process, it's kind of strange where because me and my brother, we were the first. We didn't have a lot of athletes in our family. We didn't really know what we were getting into. So you get just told a bunch of things that, you know, I don't want to say people are lying, but they seem too good to be true. And when I talked to Keith Ferraro, I knew everything he was saying was true. I knew that he was looking out for my best interest. I knew he wasn't he cared about how I was doing as a wrestler, but what was most important to him was helping me out as a man and making sure that when I graduate from Clarion, I'm going to be set up. I'm not going to have any problems. And just having someone that you can trust through that process is just, you can't put a value on it. And the more and more I went through the process, you know, when he got the job there, I basically knew, but as I went through the process, it became obvious, you know, that I knew what I was getting with him. I trusted him, and he's the guy that when I won the NCAA title, I wanted to jump and hug him. I didn't want to, you know, hug some stranger that I'd known for a couple months. So he was the biggest factor. I trusted him, and I knew what I was getting into with him, and he's just a really special guy. You know, I talk about Coach Klepfer a lot, and it's just so easy for me to forget about Keith Ferraro and Nick DeLoya whenever I talk about the past, because these guys are still with me. Every day I hang out with them, I see them, but they're the same as him. You know, those three guys, they're the three best coaches that I've ever seen in the world. So, you know, they're the reason why I went to Clarion.
What were some other schools that were maybe on your radar or you took some visits to?
So my final three, and like I said, I basically had my mind up. I was just kind of trying to get the most out of the experience, maybe, I guess, because I didn't even take my officials. I wish I would have, looking back on it, but I didn't even take my officials because I was that sure, and I was just sick of wasting everyone's time. I knew where I wanted to go. But the other schools that I looked at, the two biggest ones, I looked at Pitt and Penn State, but they didn't really give, I wasn't a super big recruit when I when I committed, because I committed before my senior year, and my senior year was like my big breakthrough year. And, you know, they were like interested, but I could tell that they weren't super interested in me. And then the other two schools that they were interested in me and were recruiting me hard were Bucknell and Kent State. And I like those schools a lot. And, you know, the coaches, they were great at the time, and they still are today. And, you know, it's just at the end of the day, they actually gave me great offers too, and they were great opportunities. But like I said, it just meant a lot to me to stay close to home. And I've always been a huge mama's boy. So any school outside of 3 hours was out of the question. And those schools being 2.5 was just too far for me too. So it just kind of made the decision that much easier.
Staying on the recruiting and commitment topic, talk a little bit about Clarion's success recruiting PA kids. Like, you got kids coming in like Joey Fisher and Matt Lackman, who are high up on the podium this year in Hershey. Talk a little about the importance of staying home and or staying in Clarion, staying in PA and recruiting some homegrown kids.
Yeah, we're doing extremely well, and I think that's because the success we're having on the mat. And when these kids come into our school, we have mostly PA kids. The PA kids are known to have this tough, gritty style and just good people that are doing the right things. And that's what we do at Clarion. We're just a group full of tough kids that shut their mouths and work hard. And when these PA kids come into this room and they see this, it's easy for them to fall in love. And especially now with our new facilities, Dysen, I don't know if you've checked them out. You got to get in there and check them out sometimes. It is like a whole new place. It's beautiful. And now, especially with that new facility, it's just, I don't know how kids could say no. It's the best place in Pennsylvania to be right now, and everybody loves to cheer for the underdog. It's like Penn State now. People are getting kind of sick of cheering for them because they've just been so good for so long. Everyone wanted Iowa to win this year, and it's because people love to cheer for the underdog. People hate guys that are always winning. And Clarion, no matter what, will always be the underdog because we're one of them small schools where most of our sports are D2, and now that our wrestling's Division I and we're having success, every time we beat Michigan State or a team like that, we didn't beat them this year, but every time we beat a team like that, a Big Ten team, it's gonna be awesome. And now that we're blowing up and starting to become a real threat to all the teams in Division I, it's something great to be a part of, and it's something that stigma as being an underdog will never go away at Clarion. That's why people love to cheer for us. And I think that's why people get addicted when they get here and start wrestling and come into our dual meets and stuff like that.
Yeah, I haven't been over there since my areas were there like 3 or 4 years ago. I'll have to come check the facilities out sometime. Oh,
you got to check it out. It's something else. Our wrestling room, it's one of the nicest in the country, period. Not any conference, whatever. It's one of the best rooms in the entire country.
So a lot of college wrestlers use visualization maybe as like visualizing themselves on top of podium and winning matches, stuff like that. Are you a big believer in visualization?
Oh, 100%. I do it every single day. Hold on one second. Sorry, my dogs are getting a little crazy over there. But, yeah, it's going to sound stupid, but that's one of the nice things about living in Brookfield, driving to Clarion every day, is on that trip into Clarion for the lifts and the practices, I got to spend 20 minutes just visualizing myself winning a national title. I did that every single day. You know, I've done everything just because if there's something that even gives me the slightest edge, I'm going to do it. So I visualized, I've written stuff down, and the reason I think visualizing plays such a huge role, and I don't care what anyone says and what studies you do, what it does is it helps you form a dream into something that you believe you can do. And when someone, a 5-year-old kid, says he wants to be an Olympic champ one day, that's something that seems so far-fetched, and probably even to him too. But through years and years of visualizing himself winning a state title, winning a national title, winning an Olympic title, you just start to believe it because that's what you've told yourself every single day. It's kind of what Muhammad Ali's talked about a lot in all of his things that he said. And, you know, he always called himself the greatest. And that's why I think, I don't care what anyone says. I think everyone kind of agrees that it's something good for you, but I think it is just something that everyone should do. And it's something you can do not just with wrestling or sports, but you can do it with anything in life. You know, if you want to make $1 million one day, you just start visualizing $1 million, and eventually you're going to figure out a way to do it. And so, yeah, I do it every single day, and I'll always do it, even when I start coaching or if I start being a millionaire businessman somewhere. I'll do it every single day.
So now that, hopefully not, but possibly your time at Clarion is done, what do you, looking back on your 6 years, what's one thing you take from your time at Clarion that you'll kind of hold on to for the rest of your life and just like be able to give like a piece of information or like advice you'll be able to give to other people that you learned at Clarion?
So the one thing that I think has really made an impact on me at Clarion was just through the whole process. And when I got there, it was, I'm not going to say we were in shambles. We were heading in a good direction, but a lot of things were down. Like a lot of our sports, they weren't really doing well. And wrestling included. I think the year I redshirted, we were 1-19. And, you know, now we've had 2 back-to-back years of having a lot of success, over 500 records. We beat tons of ranked teams in the national ranking. And it's not just with wrestling, it's with all sports, all aspects, academic side, everything at Clarion is just the power of hard work and surrounding yourself with people that want to do the same thing that you do. And at Clarion, you get that. And it's not just with the athletes, it's with the coaches. I've seen a lot of new coaches come into Clarion, and the ones we have now, they're in there every single day. So you can go into Clarion any day, anytime. Not now, obviously, but anytime. You walk in there at 5:30 in the morning, the swimmers are in there working out. The volleyball team's in there doing something. And then I'll go to my lift and come back. It's about 8 o'clock. The soccer team's in there working out. The baseball guys are in there doing something. Another team's coming into the weight room. That's every single day. You can find that place just packed full with athletes training and doing their own things, whether it's individually or a team workout. There's always teams in there working out, and it's with those coaches that are pushing those kids. You know, it all stems from them. They recruit hardworking people, good people, and seeing that transformation happen was just one of the most beautiful things I've ever seen. And looking even deeper, you got athletic trainers in there every day at Clarion looking to help kids, give them just an opportunity to become the best they can be. You got the ADs fighting every single day to make sure that we're treated fairly and that we have an opportunity to have the most success that we possibly can. And even deeper at Clarion, we got our president who is out there busting her butt every single day to do everything she can to make this university grow. And now that these kind of people have been around for a little bit, you really start to see everything at Clarion just flourish. It's been something that I just did not take for granted, something I love being a part of, and something I'm really excited to see in the future. So just if you feel like you're around people that aren't doing the best thing for you, my advice for you is to come to Clarion and surround yourself with people that want to be champions, not just with wrestling, with any sport, with any academia, anything you want to be.
So maybe, do you know anything more that maybe we know about that extra year of eligibility thing? Do you think that's going to happen? Or because, I mean, there's a lot of pros and cons to it, and I don't think there's maybe one right way, because one thing you're going to do is going to hurt one guy or going to help another guy. The other thing's going to hurt one guy, help the other guy. So, I mean, do you think you'll get it, or what do you think about this situation?
I don't know. I really don't know. And I know, just like you probably have, I've done a lot of digging, and I've messaged a lot of powerful people and tried to get the scoop on things and try to see, because I got a lot of decisions to make that rely solely on this, and I haven't got any concrete answers, but I know a lot of the unified consensus from everyone I've kind of gotten in touch with is that it doesn't look good, but I'm remaining optimistic about it. And the one thing Coach Ferrer always tells me is that, there's not a single person in the world looking in at the situation that doesn't agree that we should get an extra year. There isn't one. Even the people at NCAA make a decision, even if they ultimately tell us no, they don't want to tell us no. So we don't have anyone fighting against us, and we have everyone fighting for us. So that's why through this whole process, even though it doesn't really sound that great right now, I still have faith in. I guess we'll find out here in the near future, but Coach Deloya was talking to me, and he said, no matter what, I got a lot of really great things to look forward to. So these while it might not be the best problems in the world to have, they're still good problems to have. So, either route I end up going, I'm going to have something to look forward to. So I'm excited to see where I end up.
So looking into your future a little bit, where do you see yourself in the next couple of years, and even in the long-term future? Do you, if say this is you're done competing college wrestling, are you going to wrestle on the senior level for a couple of years, try to make the Olympic team? You going to coach? Going to just go into the job? What do you see yourself doing?
Yeah, ideally, my dream is to just grow old and do everything I can to help Clarion student-athletes and Clarion University as a whole become the best it can be. So if any kind of coaching job or something would, or even any job at Clarion University really would be something I would just be dying to get a hold of out of college. But like I said, I'm still young and I still got a lot of wrestling left in me. So these next couple of years, I really want to chase that Olympic dream, especially like I mentioned earlier, the postponement kind of helps me. And I don't know exactly how the qualification route will look now. I haven't heard anything. My guess is everyone that's qualified will stay qualified. But now, you got the last chance qualifier, and I'm interested to see if there's another one because, NCAA's got canceled. We kind of got chipped out of 2. So I'm going to see how that goes, but I'll definitely pursue that. And then for a couple of years after, I'd love to train and chase that dream. But long term, I hope to settle down in Clarion and have some sort of job with the university, whether it be coaching, which is just the ultimate dream. That's something I'm super passionate about. And I think I've said it a lot of times that I think I'm the best wrestler in the world, but I think I'm going to be a way better coach. And that's something that I definitely want to get into if possible. And if not, I have a really good degree. I have my master's in business administration. So if I can do something with that degree to help Clarion University out, I'd love to do that. And worst comes to worst, if I got to go somewhere crazy to become a millionaire, then, I'm bound and determined to do it. So I'm really excited no matter what happens.
Leave you with the last word. Anything you want to say to the listeners? Anything?
I would advise people to never ride the highs and never go to lows. It's never as bad as it seems, and things are never as good as they seem. So try to stay consistent through the whole thing. And, no matter where you're at in life, you just keep grinding and stay consistent and do the things that led you to where you're at now.
Hey, well, Brock, that's all I got for you today. Thanks for coming on and talking to me for a little bit. It was fun talking to you.
Yeah, thanks, man. I'm excited to spend some more time with you in the future.
Yeah. Good luck in all your future activities and stuff.